It's 8 o'clock, let's call the Finance and Admin Committee to order. Roll call, please.
Steve Brenner.
Here.
Ron Sanko.
Here.
Bill James.
Here.
Dave Reeser.
Here.
And Keith Bear will be absent.
Okay. Is there any public comment?
Yeah, I want to say a couple of things. Adrian Jiddick, 48 Cardinal Road, Wyomissing. It's regarding the agenda item about committees and subcommittees. So, first of all, it's the concern about the Sunshine Act compliance with subcommittees. Because the creation of subcommittees must adhere to the Sunshine Act, which mandates public access, public notice, recorded minutes for all meetings where deliberation or action takes place. So we have to ensure transparency and notification, access to minutes, accountability mechanism. How will the Borough ensure accountability and transparency in subcommittees tasked with advising or assisting Borough decisions? I understand it makes sense to make subcommittees, but it also makes sense to create a subcommittee on a particular task, to research something or to do some extra work that the committee doesn't. But at the same time, we want to be able to access that discussion, and frankly, I'd like to see more public participation. This 3 minutes or 5 minutes thing at the beginning, and then we don't have a dialogue, logical dialogue input. I mean, there are the smart people in this borough, not just you. So the second, yeah, sadly, yeah, there are also smart people around. So the other thing is what I see, and I honestly look around, and what I see is I would call it the redundancy of our committees and commissions, whatever, what have you. There are 3 mandatory: civil, planning, and zoning hearing board, which everybody has to have. However, other municipalities seem to do just fine with a lot less. Cumru has 2 more. We have 8 more. We have situations where, so Shillington again has additional 3 committees. Kutztown, from what I could see, is another 3 committees. It just really is irrelevant. The question is, we have seen how these committees overlap. Just to give an example, the chief makes a report at fire and police, and pretty much the same thing is said at council. Why can't we do like Cumru, 1 report at council? He submits a report in writing. If anybody has any questions, he's right there. Why call him twice? So the other concern that I've raised many times is third-party contractors. Firms like McCarthy Engineering, Craft Codes, which are for-profit businesses, attend multiple committee meetings to simply reiterate information already provided. Like we all see that the infrastructure Craft says, oh, my codes report is self-explanatory. That's why we get him here. Get him in a car, pay for his gas, his hourly rate, to say that his zoning and codes report is self-explanatory? Really? So again, nobody that I have seen does this. We need to be more efficient. We're talking about budget, we're talking about cutting down the bench in the park. How much do I have?
Good.
Okay. The other thing is, what I never saw is the Refuse and Recycling Committee, which obviously has, every time I go there, is revising tonnage, for which it can do anything. What's the point of looking at how many tons of trash we generated this month? That doesn't vary. Can that be done in finance? I gave another proposal in the past let's create an EAC who would deal with parks and trees and birds and refuse and everything. We can do that. Just have less, because at the end of the day, and this is the final point, we're asking staff to come, take minutes, publish on the website, more paperwork. For what? To revise tonnage?
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Cash update?
At the end of November, cash and investments totaled $8,420,000, a small reduction of $441 since the end of October, typical for this time of year. Interest rates at Tompkins have dropped to low 4, high 3. Rates at PLGIT are in the mid 4% range. They dropped about a quarter of a point over the last month. There are 2 grant reimbursements that are currently pending. One for the pedestrian bridge, the other for our last payment for the stone house. When we look at our PLGIT investments, $4 million was invested as approved for a 210-day term at a rate of 4.51 that will mature on June 12th and yield $103,000 in interest. The class account is now at $647,000. The prime account is at $291. So that will be the cash that will carry me until we start collecting taxes in March. The PLGIT account was open for the escrow reserves. That's not an amount that's reported as part of the borough money because it actually belongs to other people, but that account has been open. There has also been an account open to receive the proceeds from settlement that is scheduled to occur on December 18th. So that account was open prior to receiving committee and council approval because I experienced a delay when I opened the escrow account, and I didn't want to be caught short at settlement with that account not being open and ready. It needed to be included in the settlement documents. So there is action that is needed to ratify the opening of that account. At this time, the account is just open, so the account number was available for the settlement documents. There is no balance in that account at this time.
Okay. So we need I'm not sure I can vote on this. Can I vote on this? Motion is either the table or table approve or deny ratifying the opening PLGIT account and excess proceeds of the loan. I'm gonna not vote on this. Okay, we have a motion that we're to approve.
Approve.
Motion to second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? I abstain, just in case I have to do my employment status. Okay.
Just a quick peek at rates. You can see that PLGIT's forecast over the next 12 months is staying right in the mid 4% range, still in excess of our fixed rate on the loan.
You said those are for, 360, okay.
Okay. Transactions of note during the month of November. Net real estate taxes totaled $30,000. Other local taxes totaled $223. Advance number 13 was taken out on the loan for $266,000, and the quarterly franchise tax fee was received for $58,000. Revenues total $1,003,000, bringing our year-to-date revenue total to $25,238,000. Expenses of note during the month of November include a number of payment apps for the garage, sewer apps, the stone house. Final payment was made on the streets, final payment was made on the bridge, and the first payment was made in the water. Expenditures totaled $2,119,000, bringing the year-to-date total to $27,902,000. On a net basis, expenditures did exceed revenues by $1,116,000, which increased our year-to-date deficit to $2,664,000. And this is information with and without the construction At this point of the year, the revenue and the expenses are very close to what was budgeted, so there's not a significant variance timing-wise there. When we add the year-to-date deficit of $2,664,000 to the beginning of the year fund balance, the overall fund balance at the end of November is $8,789,000. 1.8 of that is reserved, leaving unreserved fund balance of 6.9. Pending activity at the end of November included the grants that I discussed, as well as open permit fees of $8,000, which would bring our unreserved fund balance with that pending activity to $7,172,000. The reserves are kind of in a state of flux at this time. The normal activity for November added the MS4 reserve and the bike route maintenance fees. It reflects the payment for the pedestrian bridge, a final payment, and the next payment for the stone house. I've tried to roll forward activity that I'm anticipating in December and indicate where I thought we would end the year and adjustments that are made to begin the next year. A lot of these numbers are tied to capital projects, and the timing at year end is sensitive. There is a meeting scheduled for infrastructure on the 16th. It's a joint council meeting. Some payment apps will be forced into 2024, others will fall into 2025. The payment apps for the garage construction have not yet been received, so those numbers are unknown at this time, and that's why this is a very fluid number. Variances, I didn't spend a lot of time updating. I updated the engineering fees for the West Lawn Interceptor. One additional item that I've become aware of is the dump truck that was ordered in '23 was expected to be delivered in '24. This week's check run includes payment for the cab and the chassis, but the upfitting of the truck won't occur likely to February of 2025. That's $106,000. That will fall into next year. So it's a current year variance because we're not expending what we had anticipated, but that will be in addition to the reserve.
Good.
On to revenues. The tax collector reported collections for the month of November of $18,000, bringing our year-to-date total to $5,491,000, leaving uncollected at the end of November of $154,000, or 2.74. So we're about a third of a percent off of where we were last year.
We know how much of that is private property versus commercial property?
I have the detailed listing, but off the top of my head, I can't give you a split. I will, yes. Taxes from October were received. The last check for November has not yet been received, so our net real estate taxes that the borough received from the tax collector for the month of November was $26,000. When delinquent taxes received from the county and penalties are added, our net taxes for the month totaled $30,000, bringing our year-to-date total to $5,477,000. Other local taxes for the month of November totaled $223,000. Year-to-date total $5,155,000. When we look at the detail of those local taxes, in November, $27,000 was received. Just this morning, I received the December distribution of $56,000. That was a nice bump because it included the sale of Wawa. So our year-end total will be $503,000, $25,000 less than the prior year, and less than budget by $96,000.
Can you go back one page? So I'm looking at the blue part.
That's what we projected when we budgeted. I thought we were gonna receive real estate taxes
Got it.
of $466, but because Wawa was included and I wasn't anticipating that, our
Got it.
year-end total is $503.
Got it, okay.
For earned income tax during November, $144,000. On Tuesday, the December receipt was recorded for $497,000. We will end the year with a total of $3,255,000, 83,000 more than last year, 130,000 more than the budget. However, I projected 3.3 and it fell short of the projection. Mercantile tax for the month of November totaled 9,000, bringing our year-to-date total to 1,471,000. I don't know anything about December receipts for mercantile tax. They're received later in the month. Finally, local taxes. For November, we received 42,000. For December, on Tuesday, we received 104,000. So our year-end total, 584,000. That would be 4,000 more than budgeted, 20,000 more than last year, and more than 5,000 more than what I had projected. Any question on November revenues?
Do you have any questions for Phyllis?
Moving on to expenditures. The first project is the garage. During November, advance number 13 was made for $266,000, which brought the debt to $3,483,000. During November, the Bolton application was received to cover that, as well as the Berkeley construction fee and engineering and architectural fees that have already been paid. I'm asking for one final advance before settlement in the amount of $98,983.16 to cover those expenditures.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Yeah, we have a motion and a second to approve the borough manager to draw on the top of this general obligation note amount $98,983.16 for expenditures incurred in public works garage pending council approval December. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? I abstain due to my employment status at Tompkins.
That will bring the final Tompkins note balance to $3,582,000. That will be the amount that would be paid off at settlement on the 18th. Any excess proceeds that will be going in the PLGIT account will be used to pay the payment apps not included in that amount. So their final payment apps on the other contractors as well as continued work with Bolton. So those will come out of those proceeds. At this time, if you look at the contingency number, which is the number in green, we had budgeted for contingency of $300,000. Already approved our change orders for $276,000. I'm aware of pending change orders that will be reviewed by the infrastructure committee on the 16th of $28,000, most related to electrical work. So we will just slightly exceed that $300,000. Bolton would still be the only contractor that will be working.
That sinkhole's still sinking.
The sinkhole is actually one of those pending numbers will be approved, so that has been addressed.
Not just the wall. It's not just the wall.
When you look at the Bolton activity,
Excuse me, one quick thing. Have we talked to John about furniture and so forth?
John?
John?
oh,
Yeah.
we have used it
Gallon.
as source.
Gallon.
Yes, I mean, yes, we have.
Okay. Is that, thought maybe he'd be able to give us some.
I mean, the little,
Discount.
the existing garage, like, the new garage is fully furnished
Right.
and has been. The existing garage is being retrofitted, so to speak. I don't know off the top of my head if Greg and Jim have finalized the furniture for that. Do you know?
No, they did not anticipate any additional
I didn't think so.
large.
Yeah, purchases.
Got a couple chairs here they can use.
Yeah.
For the general contractor, Bolton, during November, $204,000 was paid, $86,776 is for infrastructure committee approval on infrastructure did approve that. Is going to council next week for payment. Right? For the fire protection. Here we go, fire protection. During November, an application was paid for $3,000. The final payment, of $7,000, is pending, and that will be coming out of the loan proceeds. Same for plumbing. During November, $28,000 was paid. The project is almost complete. There's just about $13,000 left on the contract. That, together with the retainer of $23,000, we're hoping will be received for infrastructure's approval and payment in '24. Same applies to HVAC. The project is almost complete. About $12,000 left on that contract, plus retainage of $15,000, and hopefully that will be received and paid during '24. The electrical is where there's still payment apps that were pending, so there may be additional work there. During November, $5,000 was paid. There is about $20,000 left on that contract. That, together with a retainage of $37,000, is pending. Any questions on the garage? All right.
Almost done.
We're almost done. Settlement is scheduled
9
for
years in the making.
December 18th, and Michelle is trying to get some information. Go ahead.
Jamie actually just wrote me back. One of the questions I asked him is how settlement will work on the 18th, if anybody needs to be physically present. He said no one needs to be physically available. Brett Fagley from Chris's office will be coordinating with Jamie's office to obtain all signatures in advance. All paperwork will be prepared and usually is sent via email to bank and other team members. On the day of settlement, all that happens is the initiation of the wires to the various entities, and then an email is sent confirming we are closed. They take care of collecting all the invoicing, payoff wire information, etc. It should be an easy and non-event on the 18th.
Those.
Probably moved it to yours. He said don't change your schedule.
Okay. All right, for the sewer projects, during November, final payment was made on the televising as well as the Woodland Road project. For the Boulevard Pump Station, which is a project that hung over from 2023, the final payment app of $122,000 is going for infrastructure committee approval on the 16th. Hopefully council will approve on that same date. And I'd like to get that payment in '24 so we don't hang over into '25. So with all three sewer projects complete, the total for the year was $1.2 million. We had budgeted $1.3 million, so we were about $100,000 under budget. But this is why our sewer fund balance has been depleting. We completed $1.2 million of projects out of fund balance. On the streets project, the final payment app of $75,000 was paid. On the pedestrian bridge, the final payment of $14,000 was made. On the stone house, during November, payment was made on application number 3 for $96,000. Application number 4 was approved by the infrastructure committee and will be approved by the regular council meeting next week. The next payment of number 5 is going for infrastructure committee approval on the 16th and hopefully council approval on the same date, and will be paid during '24. That will leave just the retainage of $27,000, which was budgeted to carry over into '25, so we will be right in sync with what we had budgeted.
Great.
On the water project, during the month of November, payment was made for $14,000. Infrastructure committee approved the next application for number 2 for $179,000. That's scheduled for council's approval at its regular meeting next week. The next payment app was received, will be reviewed by the infrastructure committee, but due to all kind of contractor delays and problems, we're gonna let them wait to January for payment. We're not gonna force that through '24, and we did budget for that carryover, so that keeps us in sync with what we had budgeted.
Okay. Great.
On the sidewalk project, again, lots of vendor delays. The contract was awarded in July at $71,000. We've added borough-owned payment to that contract on change order number 1. bringing the contract to 90,000. We've yet to receive a payment app on that. So that entire project will fall into 25, as will the revenue to bill the residents on the 50/50 program. So nothing's been received, there's nothing to approve, so unfortunately that is an unbudgeted carryover. Total capital expenditures for the month of November, all the payment apps we discussed totaled $533,000, bringing your year-to-date capital expenditures to $6,478,000. I highlighted in purple for your review just the items that will be carrying over into 25. Any questions on expenditures for the month of November? No?
Anybody? Well done, thank you.
With all that said, my revised projection of where we will end the year with information through yesterday, because I did get tax receipts yesterday, budgeted revenue of 27.2. Best guess right now is to end with 27,395. Positive variance of 101,000. The most significant positive variance again is the Medicon reimbursement. Expenses were budgeted for $29,670,000. Best estimate right now is $30,812,000, with a negative variance of $1,142,000. Still the same items, the purchase of the fire truck as well as that street sweeper. So that
I can't say it.
I have to slow
Street
down to do that.
Street sweeper.
So on a net basis, I'm projecting that we will end the year with a deficit of $3.4 million. Added to the beginning of the year fund balance, that will give us an overall fund balance of $8,036,000. It would be a negative position versus where we had hoped to end by $632,000 before considering the financing transaction that will occur on the 18th.
Right.
With proceeds of $5 million and expenses of 3.6, and that's a total of the outstanding loan balance plus the settlement costs. So we anticipate that going into that PLGIT account will be 1.3 million. That is higher than what we talked about when we budgeted, because I had thought we would get more of those payment apps from those other vendors, and they would have been paid and included in the loan balance. They're not in the loan balance, so they're in the excess proceeds, and will be paid hopefully before the end of 24. Make sense?
Yep.
Okay.
So the bottom line is, our budget was off, skip all the financing stuff, $632,200.
Correct.
With the unbudgeted part of the fire trucks, the other one, and the street sweeper, and all others. So what's the all other positive number?
That's all the other 300 lines of the budget.
Okay.
I picked out the two most
So we were
significant.
ahead of, we actually ended up ahead of budget, minus the things that we intentionally knew we were gonna put our
Fire
budget.
truck is a sweeper.
Right. Okay.
Okay. That's all I've got. Any questions
That's
on
it?
November or where we end the year? Yeah, that's 32 pages worth.
We're already gonna be able to get a lot of that out once we get done with this damn garage.
Well, all the construction projects,
Yeah.
other than what's hanging over.
Right. Okay.
Good job.
Good job.
Phyllis.
Okay.
That was,
Back to the agenda.
So now we have water rates to deal with. We're done with your part, right, Phyllis?
We are.
Okay, so we have the water rate increase for 2025, this is resolution 2024-32, resolution of the council of the borough of Wyomissing, Berks County, Pennsylvania, amending the water rates. A motion is needed I'll make a motion to approve, accepting resolution number 2024-32 as to setting the new water rates effective January 1, 2025.
second.
We have a motion to second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Resolution 2024-33, resolution of the council of the borough of Wyomissing, Berks County, Pennsylvania, amending the sewer rates. I'll make the motion to approve accepting resolution number 2024-33 as setting to new sewer rates effective January 1, 2025. Motion in the second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. There's a resolution number 2024-34, resolution of the Borough of Wyomissing revising and updating the borough's fee schedule. I'll let someone else do it.
So moved.
We have a motion to approve and a second.
Yep.
Okay, so we have a motion to approve resolution number 2024-34, establishing rate 25. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. Meeting dates. Yay, meeting dates. Are we good with the finance link we've been doing? I know it's very.
There's a
it's
few
tough.
months that it's a really tight turnaround. It is what it is.
Yeah. not
Is
much
that
else we
only,
can do.
internet that's good?
Not, yeah, there will be once it's adopted for next year.
Yeah.
It was part of your email with the agenda.
Yeah. Ah, okay, yes, yes.
So I have a question. If someone is going on the website and looking at our movie schedules with the things that happen quite often, they get changed. Is
We-
that information put on the website that the meeting's been canceled or?
Yes, so there's an email blast that goes out, it's on the calendar of meetings, as well as if we don't cancel a meeting but have to move the date, we're also required to re-advertise it, repost it on our website, do other things with it.
So, from an individual's perspective, the last planning commission meeting that you and I spoke about, we got a call the other day out of blue about the planning commission. There wasn't any information that they had that said it was canceled or they were planning to come. I'm not sure, where does it show up in a given week when we cancel it? How does it get to the public so they know there's no meeting?
It's on the news and notices, and then it's also on the calendar agenda on the website, it'll show it was canceled.
Right, but if it's canceled within 3 or 4 days, it's not on the website.
Yeah, it is.
Is it?
I think you updated as soon as we canceled that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And normally it would be at least a week out, because normally the agendas would go out a week out.
Well, that's my whole point. There's a lot of confusion flying around with people that definitely have to know, and then there's people that anecdotally may just want to come, that if they want to know, there's a way for them to know when it's on the website.
It's on the website.
Yeah, it's on the website, and if they have definitive interest, okay, on attending every month, or, they can sign up and receive notifications, but they need to sign up to receive the borough
Yeah.
notifications.
Had a case with Mike Shamanic, he was gonna go to the planning meeting this week, this past week. And then I called him, I said, there is no planning meeting.
You'd have to look at
He did, but he has to.
you'd have to look at the website, 'cause he
Website,
won't get,
yeah.
he can't get the meeting shots
Right,
because
right.
he's not a resident.
Yeah,
Right.
he can still sign up for the news and, anybody can sign up for the news and notices, it's by email.
Why, if you lived in West Reading, you just sign up for the news and notices, why was it?
I don't live in Wyomissing,
But
but
I
I
guess you
signed
can.
up for the
Okay.
news
Well,
and
he lives
notices.
in Maine.
Well, I didn't know where he lived, I had
Yeah,
no idea where he
13
lived, I was just
walk
using our
here.
next door neighbor.
I sent him a check every month.
I was using my
The bank
home
sends
lane.
him a check every month.
Alright, so, I'll make a motion to approve, the 2025 meeting dates as for advertisement.
Second.
Motion second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Discuss the request for committees, commissions, and boards to be able to form subcommittees to focus on special projects and goals.
I put this on agenda's request, so.
Yes, thank you. There are, in my mind, two different kinds of committees. Most committees rely on staff to do most of the labor. Finance, personnel, infrastructure. There are refuse and recycling, carbon change commission, rely more on committee members and others to make proposals, to do background information, things like that. With refuse and recycling, we wanted to use the expertise of, and the interest of more people to discuss whether to have an EAC, for example. Refuse and recycling, next year will be analyzing contracts and working with Michelle to develop specifications for bids going out, we might want to use expertise of people who are not on the committee, but not necessarily staff. So my question was, and sorry, Market Shade Tree is talking about different subcommittees, like people doing incurred birdhouses, and those people would not be made up of, it's not anticipated that the subcommittees be made up of only people on Market Shade Tree Commission. So but we wanted to do things the right way. So when setting up subcommittees, we wanted to know whether we were permitted to set up subcommittees using people who are not on the committee commission.
Well, I'm just gonna use like the rec board as an example, right?
That's what I was gonna say.
They have different committees for different things, but it just answers up through the rec board, which then goes to
Right.
council. So I don't know why we couldn't just, if you wanna have some experts to do something in a subcommittee, I guess that committee could form a subcommittee, but at the end of the day, they gotta report up to the main committee,
Absolutely.
which has to report. So I don't,
Absolutely, but we wanted to,
but anybody can come, any expert can come to any meeting and put in their 3 cents at any public meeting.
right, but we're hoping for working meetings where, for the contract for the reducing recycling, looking at different data, and so this is not something where public comment alone is going to, we want it more interactive than public comment would permit, if you have the right people on the subcommittee.
So that's also no different than, I mean,
Yeah, I mean, we've done
rec
that.
board subcommittees, it's typically, the chair is a member of the rec board.
And that's fine.
But then the other individuals, I mean, it's not a public meeting, there's interaction, and the whole point is, it's a playground, it's pool, it's a specific event. I actually asked Chris a question yesterday because something coming out of rec board is they had somebody interested in being on a subcommittee that's not a borough resident. So I asked Chris if that was allowable, and he said it's entirely up to the borough. He, Chris, thinks it makes sense at a minimum to have the chairs be borough residents, but if non-residents are willing to help the borough to provide programs for the community, he thinks they should be encouraged to do so. He doesn't see a reason to exclude non-residents from participating on committees, so long as the committee has no authority to enter contracts or spend money, which is already true. And that rec board member that's a non-resident has already volunteered at rec events. They were asking if they could become more involved. Obviously, they can't be on the rec board because they're not a resident, but it seemed like a great way to get somebody who has a true interest in wanting to help out at our events that just happens to not be a resident, to get them involved.
The only problem I have with the whole concept is we have a borough council of X number of people, and there's a lot of people that would like to sort of be involved, but they have no interest in doing all the crazy stuff we do 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And when they meet, however many there are, and depending on how many people are on this committee, we have this 3 people. If there's more than 3 of us, we can all go to jail because we can have a meeting and talk. But these committees could be like 28 people, 5 of them could be, you know, PhDs from somewhere deciding what they want to do with what kind of trash you want to pass around. And we're not even there. We didn't even go to this. And somehow it serpentines its way through the infrastructure committee to the finance committee, back to the rec committee because it bounced over, it hit a wall, and now it's on the tree commission. It's everywhere. We have no idea where the stuff is going and coming from. And there's people making decisions because we said they could do that, but then they have to make it up to council.
Well, they're not
to get
making,
it
they're
done.
not making,
All they can
the
make
key is to
recommendations.
understand is they're not making decisions,
No, I know
they're
that.
making
They can make
recommendations.
Right, they're making recommendations, but ultimately it ends up in front of council, and we're scratching our heads saying, where the hell did that come from? Because these large committees are somewhere doing stuff that we have no idea what they're doing, because we're not on every committee. Well, you weren't on that committee. I said, yeah, I know, but you got 22 freaking committees, plus you have all these council meetings. We can't do it all. So it'd be nice to have the entire borough run itself and just tell us what to do at our annual meetings. They don't do that. Or they'd like to do that, because they want to tell us what to do, but we don't know what the hell they're doing until it shows up here. And we don't know if it went, well, it didn't go through the bird committee, it has to go through the refuse
But-
committee to get to the
But
bird
hold on,
committee.
if refuse and recycling wants to have a subcommittee, that subcommittee makes recommendations to the refuse and recycling, the people who are on the actual board. And then they turn around and make a recommendation to council. I don't really have a problem if someone wants to set up a subcommittee and get experts in. I mean, can't hurt.
I don't have a problem with that either. My only caution is,
But I gotta believe the subcommittee meetings still,
Not if there's not a quorum of the actual committee members, they do not have to be advertised.
okay, so.
And that's some of the
So you have
benefit.
if you have two committee members on refuse and recycling in a subcommittee of 5, we're
Yep.
good.
Yep.
Right.
And then the
I
point
have no
being,
problem
whatever
with
that subcommittee discusses, you bring back to the advertised public meeting for broader discussion.
But at the end of the day, I mean, that's a good example, is the trash, refuse trash. If there's two people that are really burned into being on the refuse committee, and there's like 4 other people involved, then this whole project moves forward, and there's 4 or 5 other people that wanna know what's going on with refuse, but we're not in that other committee that's moving around doing what it's thinking. And they bring us something that they've been working on for 6 months, and then we say, well, we don't like that. Well, we did all this work? and
I would
you're not-"
assume the subcommittee will, give a nice subcommittee report to the committee. And then every month at worst, at council, you'll get an update on what that subcommittee recommended to the committee, or at least discussing.
And
But
there
that's
should be
every 3
some.
months, the recycling is 3 months, so.
Yes, so there's an exact committee where subcommittees probably, there's a board that, to have subcommittees makes sense, because you're only meeting every 3 months. I agree. So I don't care if you do it, just, it's gotta be reported up through the normal chain. So I mean, to me, it's no different than the rec board has a 4th of July committee, they have a
They have like
fall
14
festival committee,
subcommittees.
they have all that, but it all goes to the rec board, and then the rec board comes to us to approve it.
I think it's healthy to have other people involved.
Yeah, if you can make sure
that's
follow
fine,
the
and you
mayor.
can change,
More the
know,
merrier, as
especially
far as I'm concerned.
Yeah,
with it being a contract year.
the only
But they
thing I-
have to understand that as a subcommittee, all you have is,
That's all they understand.
the only point you have is we're using your knowledge to get to the next level, to get to the next level, to get to the next level.
We understand that the refuse and recycling can't do anything other than make recommendations.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
You know, if you wanna call, you know, especially since it's a contract year, you know, monthly meetings, you know,
Oh,
until you
I
get,
call- I
you
call-
can certainly do
I
that.
do call them more frequently if something needs to be acted on. I do.
Yeah, you know, the only thing I caught, because again, it's an expense to advertise it, so make sure you got something
Well,
worthwhile.
subcommittees would need to be advertised.
Yeah,
Subcommittees do not need to be advertised.
No, because again, there's no quorum.
There's no quorum.
That's right, because it's not a voting, it's just suggestions. And I'm fine with all of this, and as I've said to you, you certainly have the authority as the chair to, you know, bring on the people that the committee as a whole would be comfortable with. My only word of caution is make sure you don't have people on there that are out for their own personal agenda, but it's something for the worthwhile of the entire borough, and not just a few individuals.
Well, at the end of the day, if everybody that wants to be involved, and they all come, and the funnel comes here, then whatever they wanna do is gonna come here. And they shouldn't be unhappy if we don't like their idea, because we weren't involved in all the committees that are running around doing what is, we know.
Well, yeah, you still, council has the final authority, I mean, that, you don't guarantee it that you're gonna approve everything, sometimes you like it, sometimes you don't.
Yeah, I mean, we've had, you know, committees have brought things to council, and we've talked about it, we've questioned it in great detail at the meeting, at council meeting, and then we vote, and sometimes we ask them, no, I don't, the way it's set up, it's not quite right.
Well,
You know.
It's not
and then we
something-
move forward from there.
Well, we've grown our rec committee substantially, and the number of issues with regarding recreation has grown substantially as well. So the larger this project gets, the more people are gonna be involved, and the more things we're gonna get involved with being able to, and having to oversee. That's my whole point.
Yeah,
It has to do with the-
that's-
I think
one thing
Mark
I've,
was
one
in
thing
class
I've learned
myself.
about the rec board is, yes, it has subcommittees, and I think they do a good job of doing what they need to do to report to the rec board and then report to us. But one thing I've learned in 9 years on borough council is 90%, not, the majority of complaints all have to do with rec. Because it's little Jimmy and Johnny and Susie and, you know, Bonnie, who can't play kickball at 3:30 in the afternoon. I mean, at the end of the day, that's the majority of the problem, so. I mean, I hear more people scream about rec events than I do taxes going up. It's almost unbelievable.
So we get larger committees where more people complain.
But, I mean, they can complain all they want, they can run the council too.
Just work our way up.
So, okay,
Appreciate that.
so we don't really need to vote on anything?
Preferably a motion.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve any action items discussed by committees relative.
So in this case, I wasn't sure where the conversation was gonna go, so I wasn't sure how to word the motion. In this case, it would be a motion
For the
to
subcommittee.
recommend council approve allowing subcommittees to be formed.
Or was that
Which
so bad?
include people
Has
who are
been,
not on
as,
committees.
has been done previously?
I don't think I've
Yeah,
heard
we
that
have
Or-
always done that.
Rec board,
Some have, some people, some have, some haven't.
yeah.
So we wanna make sure there's a rule.
Yeah, rec board did it.
But why are we
Okay.
approving something
Didn't
that
Park and
we
Shade do it?
already do?
Because only the rec board's done it, and there were questions as to if other committees were going to do it, how it was going to be done. So I think it would be smart to include in the motion, one, you're approving allowing subcommittees, subject to the chair of the subcommittee must be a member of the board committee they're representing, no more than two, I'm trying to talk slowly for you, no more than
I
two
don't remember any of this yet.
So is all
Committee.
this gonna be spelled out?
Let me finish.
committee, commission, board members be part of the subcommittee.
Without, yeah, because we
That's
got
it.
to.
That's it.
And that's it unless there's anything else specific that you want.
So to be clear, the subcommittee will make a recommendation to the committee,
Yes.
commission,
Board.
whatever it is, board. That will be reflected in their notes in that board meeting, so that we'll have access to see what the subcommittee is talking about.
Yeah, like if you look at the rec board agenda now and the rec board minutes, on the agenda, there's subcommittee coming out of Fort Phillips, subcommittee coming out of Playground, and then there's discussion within the minutes as to what the chair of that subcommittee talked
The
about in the
library
rec
does
board.
it too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, in my mind, I don't think we're doing anything different
Yeah,
than we've
like-
always done, but
yeah.
I'll make the recommendation to what Michelle said.
Awesome.
Motion is second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Move it on to council. Yes.
Yeah.
Got up. Listen, you get it. Find an expert out there for some reason, so be it. Okay, that's all the agenda items, so.
I have a question. The Berkshire Mall.
press release on the borough's website, otherwise it's legal matter, can't comment.
Wait a minute, are we paying for this? And if so, we
Well,
can comment.
not on the agenda, can't talk about it, period,
Right.
but beyond that, there is a press release on the borough's website, otherwise it is a legal matter that we cannot comment on.
But we need to be able to have a meeting to comment on it because
That would
we
be-
don't want you to spend $2 million on the first.
Why don't you wait
That-
till executive session?
Well, that's
At
what I'm just
council.
asking. We can't
There
comment on it until when?
would be infrastructure, under the codes report would actually be the appropriate place to talk about it.
When?
Infrastructure, on the 16th.
16th of
December. Okay.
this month.
But as Michelle said,
I know, I get it.
this is a legal matter and none of us should be discussing
I
this
agree.
with the public, but referring them to the
I
borough
agree with
website, press release. Period.
Well, I don't know, I'm a lawyer.
I'm very
Maybe a dumb lawyer, but bills here.
Not on the agenda, can we at least adjourn the meeting, please?
Yeah, meeting adjourned. Listen, I agree with